So you're a project manager and you want to get stuff done this year. How do you do it? Well, let me tell you how. So I'm sure you've heard of a lot of different ways to get goals done. I'm going to talk to you about 3 things you can do that are going to make goal setting and goal accomplishment easier, much more doable. Keep in mind that as you're setting your goals, you don't want to set something that's too easy to do. There's really no sense of accomplishment. On the other hand, you don't want to climb Mount Everest in 1 month either. So you have to make sure that your goals are, stretching you, but doable. So let's talk about SMART goals for a minute. SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. When you're setting your goals, some of that may be something that your boss has already handed you. But inside of those goals, you can make sure that the goal is specific. In other words, you know exactly what you're going after. Well, let's just take this to something like fitness. For fitness, let's say that your goal is you want to make sure that you walk 100 miles this quarter. That's specific. You have a definable goal that you can measure, right? Specific, measurable, something you can measure to see how you're progressing toward your goal. Achievable is something like, are 100 miles achievable? If you break it down by month, let's say quarterly, I only have to walk 34 miles in 1 month. There are 30 days in a month. You can get that done just walking 1 mile a day, right? So then you determine if you can accomplish that. If it's too big, if it's too hard, you might need to break the goal down. As far as like a project is concerned, you need to make sure that you know what your budget amount is. You know what you're budgeted for each area of the project. Those again are measurable, specific goals. And make sure they're attainable. You can reach them. Not too easy, but not too hard either. Relevant. Is it relevant to what you're trying to get accomplished? Fitness goals are a really important part of us being physically and emotionally and mentally fit for the job that's ahead. Don't disregard something like a fitness goal, because those are also part of what help you to be a better manager and make better decisions. Finally, time-bound. Make sure that your goal has a deadline. Now, we've talked about SMART goals, but SMART goals aren't where we stop. You want to make sure that your goals, you break them down into doable chunks. This actually goes back to SMART goals. Let's use the budget as your goal. You have a certain budget that you have to meet. Well, you look at it and let's say the boss says, I need a breakdown of the budget by February 15th. So you look at all of the materials, all of the labor, and then you break it down into, okay, this section of the materials, I need to send bids out by this date, and then I need to follow up with that a couple of days later to make sure those bids are coming in. And then you do that with all the different parts of the budget. And then you set aside 2 or 3 days at the end in order to make sure that you have time to collate all of the information that you're gathering so you can meet your deadline on time, even a little early, maybe even impress your boss. So take those goals that you've set and break them down into doable chunks. Now, we did talk about the goals being time-bound. Probably one of your greatest friends is your calendar. So when you've got those time-bound goals, you've broken down the goals into doable chunks, and you've told yourself when you're going to get those chunks done, make sure you put them on the calendar. So let's say in 3 days, you wanted to make sure you had all the bids in from these particular contractors for the labor for your project. So you look at it maybe a day ahead of time and say, how many do we have? What are the challenges we're facing getting that information? Sometimes there are obstacles that you can't always address right away, but stopping and assessing where you stand in terms of the smaller milestones you're trying to achieve, it will help you, 1, stay on top of the project, 2, If you're running into snags, then you have time to give your boss a heads up and say, hey, I'm having trouble getting these bids back from these contractors. Do you have a recommendation? As a business owner, this is something I super value. We call it the 1-3-1 rule. I have one problem I'm going to take to the boss, but I'm going to come up with 3 solutions to present to the boss, and then tell the boss the one I think is going to work best. 1, that shows that you're proactive and you're a member of the team that's trying to help your boss. 2, it's going to put you in problem-solving mode, so maybe you can sort out the problem before you even need to take it to your boss. 3, it's going to make you such a much more valuable employee. You know, we as bosses, we don't always want to have to solve all the problems. And especially if you're a manager, we're expecting that you're working to resolve solutions and you're bringing solutions to us instead of just the problems. Again, how do you get things done? What kind of goals are you going to set? You're going to set those SMART goals. They're going to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. You are going to break your goals down into doable chunks, and you're going to make those time-bound as well. And then you're going to make time, use your calendar to set reminders of when you want to sit down and assess where you're at in terms of getting those goals accomplished. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that bell and subscribe to us so that you're alerted when we have more content just like this. Ciao!